the shooting range. Hello, friends. Merry Christmas to you all. The end of the year is coming, and with it come the holiday episodes of the shooting range. Today we're going to talk about the new winter update, and the next episode will break the tradition and premiere on Saturday, December 31st, to wrap up the year for War Thunder. Make yourselves comfortable to see. In this episode, Pages of History, Soviet Night Fighters, Special, a tour around the Gold Quarry, and Metal Beasts, Gen 4 Fighting Falcon. The Apex Predators update is already available to all players, which means it's time to introduce the new vehicles. Please welcome an American light multi-role fighter, the General Dynamics F-16A Fighting Falcon. It's the most mass-produced fourth-generation plane today in service with almost 30 nations. Let's take a closer look. Its power plant is a bypass turbofan engine with an afterburner. The fuel is stored in self-sealing tanks installed in the wing and the fuselage. More fuel can be added via external drop tanks. The nose cone hides an onboard radar station. Its forward-firing armament includes a 20mm autocannon with 512 rounds of ammo, as well as conventional and smart bombs, rockets, and guided air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles. Generation 4 fighters representing Rank 8 aircraft in War Thunder can boast incredible flight performance. Just think of it. The F-16 can take off and go supersonic in only 30 seconds. Thanks to its powerful engine and small mass, the fighter's thrust-to-weight ratio is so high it can take off, pitch its nose up straight, and continue accelerating. Of course, a powerful engine brings an expected flaw: fuel consumption. The internal fuel tanks can only last 5 minutes of flight with the afterburner on. That's why additional drop tanks are more of a necessity rather than a luxury for Gen 4 light aircraft. This American plane can enjoy 1.5 more minutes of afterburner flight with them on, which is a good increase in percentage terms. Moreover, you can always drop the dead weight. It's in the name, after all. As for the Falcon's weaponry, it can carry up to 6 all-aspect infrared-guided missiles, and there's always a trusty 20mm Vulcan. It's pretty comprehensive for short-range combat. The F-16 can also handle ground targets well enough. Besides rockets and regular bombs, it has some great sets of guided munitions. They're efficient against enemy air defenses, tanks, and even aviation. Moreover, climb rates of Gen 4 fighters are so good that high-altitude attacks become very simple. By the way, sim mode fans might enjoy the cockpit design. Not a single seam or frame in this bubble canopy. Best view ever. Tactical fighters are useless in night battles. It didn't take the Royal Air Force or the German Luftwaffe long to arrive at this conclusion after World War II began, and the USAF got it soon after, too. They knew they needed a machine capable of long patrols in the dark, with good guns and, most importantly, an onboard radar system for guidance. Naturally, pilots would also need special training to operate such an aircraft. The first European specialized night hunters were made from heavy twin-engined fighters and bombers, such as the Blenheim, the Beaufighter, the Messerschmitt 110, the Dornier 17, and the Junkers 88. The Soviet Union, however, failed to adopt this practice in time, so in 1941 it was completely unprepared for Luftwaffe night raids. They tried to compensate for their lack of night fighters with thicker anti-air fire in larger cities, but making it a widespread solution was impossible. Walking their own path of trial and error in the first, hardest years of the war took the Soviets an enormous amount of effort. They first attempted to use daytime fighters in night interception missions. The MiG-3 proved to be the most efficient at this, but the best chances for target designation its pilots had was verbal commands from ground-based radar systems. Regular fights, however, involved blinding projector lights and a high risk of being shot down by your own anti-aircraft guns. Meanwhile, Soviet cities and factories continued burning bright at night. What could they do? Ask the British for night fighters? They were in desperate need of them, too. The bow fighters were supplied to squadrons in single digits. Maybe ask the Americans. They didn't even have any night fighters. Well then, gotta make do on your own somehow. The Soviet radio engineers managed to pull off something close to impossible. Create the Gneiss-2, their first airborne radar system, while the entire industry was being evacuated. It was pretty compact for the time, weighed only half a ton, and was compatible with the PE-2 and the PE-3. These multi-role aircraft were based on the VI-100, a high-altitude fighter, and proved to be excellent. The tests were long and complicated, but in the end, the first specialized night fighters entered service by the summer of 1943. They turned out to be hard to land or take off, which was crucial for nighttime flying, and their armament proved to be lacking. Then the Soviets tried to remake the American A-20 Boston into night fighters. They didn't know they were repeating a mistake the Americans had already made, trying to create the P-70 Nighthawk on its base. So the Soviets managed to start the production of their own night fighters. But all of a sudden they discovered it wasn't enough either. They also needed to polish the usage tactics, improve reaction speed, and establish a good level of communication with the ground surveillance systems. These tasks were tough on their own, but redundant secrecy complicated the matters even further. Ironically, it only served as another telltale factor. The Germans quickly grasped why some Soviet airfields didn't even allow their own fighters close, and how it was tied to radar waves some Soviet aircraft emitted at night. They employed the well-known measures previously used on the Western Front, where a new generation of night fighters had been in use already, such as the Heinkel 219, the Northrop P-61, and the Mosquito. The Soviet Union was hopelessly lagging behind, but by the end of 1944, they managed to bridge the gap with the Tu-1, a powerful night fighter with a cutting-edge radar called the Gneiss-5. When it finally entered service, though, it was long past the times of German bomber armadas flying at night. As is tradition, the first episode of The Shooting Range after a major update goes live tells you about freshly added vehicles, as well as about new locations for mixed battles. We hope this kind of tour will help you navigate unfamiliar grounds better. Today we're going to travel around the Gold Quarry, a location inspired by the landscapes of Kazakhstan. You can expect a mining site and monstrous vehicles, dry soils, and magnificent rocky ridges with snowy peaks. We'll begin with Point A, found in the northern part of the map. On the way there, we can see a small river passable either by wading or via one of the crossings. The capture circle is found among warehouses and cisterns. Inside, we see piles of containers, crates, canisters, and other debris. It won't be hard to find cover from enemy fire here. Crossing the river again, we find ourselves in a maze of factory shops. It's easy to get lost among all these identical tall hangars with smoking pipes and numerous passes. Open spaces between them are unsafe, however. It's worth peeking around the corner before leaving cover. Moving further, past the railway tracks, the open area greets us with the main inhabitants of this place, the mighty rock haulers. Man, look at their size! Even the mouse seems toy-like next to these. Uncompromising raw power. Let's leave the hangars and head to the central point, B, found next to the boiler rooms. Similarly to the northern capture area, buildings and cisterns create multiple safe positions, making it suitable for a quick capping and later defense, so mobile machines should be a priority here. This is where the concrete roads end and let the real off-road terrain begin. It's a quarry, after all. Humans had mined millions of tons of rocks here over many years, and almost every other step greets you with either a hollow or a mound. Finally, this picture is accomplished by a giant rotary excavator. Remember those huge rock haulers? Well, forget them. This is one true giant of a vehicle. And right below it, by the way, is Point C. Funny how you could fight next to this metal monster's tracks and easily forget about the enormous structure above your head. Unless you get a spare second to look up, of course. Naturally, this location comes in multiple versions. We only toured around the largest one of them today. Other modes have different point placements, but the terrain stays the same. Share your impressions and tactical ideas, tell us how many haulers you could count on the new map, all while we answer some of the questions that you ask us in the comments. The first question was sent by a player called Nemam Pomyslu na Nazwie. If my tank commander has a description that he can shoot the main weapon, does this mean when I lose the gunner but my commander lives, I can still shoot? Hi there, you're absolutely right. This is why we add this tip to the X-ray mode, so that you don't have to join a battle to test some mechanics. Check out the description of other modules, you might find them useful. Cyberdroid asks, how do you take control of the roof-mounted machine gun like on the British Tortoise to change the direction it's facing? Greetings, Cyberdroid. You can switch to machine gun control either via the multifunctional menu or by assigning a separate key in Controls, Ground Vehicles, Weaponry. Another question comes from Fat Spider-Man. Can you name all the Hungarian vehicles in the game? Hi, Spidey. Sure, let's do this. The HE-112B1U2 in the German tree, the BF-110G4, the BF-109G2, the Toldi 2A, Turan 2, and the Zrinyi 1 in the Italy tree. 6 machines in total. Hope we didn't forget anything. Max Angler writes, what do the magnetic mines do and how do you use them effectively? Hey Max, there's quite a lot of things to discuss about them, which is precisely what we did in episode 220. Check it out when you have time. And the last comment for today was written by Eric Wustenberg. Will the Panavia Tornado be added? Hi Eric, why use the future tense? It's already there. There's even multiple versions available. See them soon in Metal Beasts. That's it for today. Once again, the entire episode won't premiere on Sunday, but instead on Saturday, December 31st, to sum up the entire year in War Thunder. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget to leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you in a bit less than a week.